In the high desert of California's Antelope Valley, situated about 100 miles northeast of Los Angeles, lies the groundwork of California's third largest city. However, this groundwork isn't depicted on paper. It's ingrained in the sand. Extensive unpaved pathways stretch across the eastern portion of California City, weaving and intersecting before culminating into vacant dead ends. Despite the absence of dwellings, these pathways are adorned with street signage, bearing names like Lincoln Boulevard, Rutgers Road, and Aristotle Drive, that punctuate the landscape dotted with thorny creosote bushes. Apart from the dusty trails and telephone poles, the only disruptions on this scene are aged signs promoting lands for sale, some of which have collapsed from their wooden supports and now rest upon the sandy terrain. But why is California's third biggest city completely empty? Let's explore. This empty neighborhood was supposed to be the center of one of the biggest cities ever planned, a community designed to hold lots of people and attract tourists from all over. But like its roads, the story of how California City changed from a big plan into a small desert town with 13,000 people is complicated. It's full of big dreams, mistakes by companies, and investigations by the government. It ended with one of the largest payouts by the FTC in the 1900s. In 2023, while rich tech people get ready to build a perfect city in Solano County, California City is a reminder of how different planning and doing can be. Even now, California City is the third biggest city in California based on size. Its huge area on the map shows how big the difference is between what people wanted and what actually happened. Homes, stores, and paved roads are mainly on the western side, which is on top of a big water source. This leaves eastern side of the city, which was meant to be the main part, nearly empty. Developers saw California City as a potential alternative to Los Angeles, according to Shannon Starkey, an architecture professor at the University of San Diego who has studied the city extensively. They believed that the Los Angeles traffic issues were caused by its gradual development, and that the city was ill-prepared for California's growing population after World War II. To address this, they envisioned new communities like California City as solutions to accommodate the expanding population. Originally, the city was planned to house 400,000 residents and serve as a vast, self-sustaining urban area in the desert. The city officially began in 1958 when Nat Mendelsohn, a determined developer, and his California City Development Company bought around 80,000 acres of land in the desert of Kern County. Mendelsohn was the main visionary, salesman, and advocate for the city. Mendelsohn had experience designing neighborhoods like Arlanza Village in Riverside. He also played a role in developing Hesperia, a desert community near LA. However, California City was his first and only project of such a grand scale. Catherine Efford Floyd worked for Mendelsohn's company in the 1960s as a sales manager and later as a public relations manager in the 70s. Starkey explains that it took around a year to create the initial plan for California City. This plan was very detailed, even down to choosing the type of trees for the parks and the colors for the road signs. The main part of the city would be a downtown area designed to hold between 80,000 to 100,000 people. Additionally, there would be 6 smaller neighborhoods surrounding it, each with 30,000 and 50,000 residents. The city was also meant to have a golf course and a park with a man-made lake, both of which were actually built. In a magazine from 1961, the United Home Services Club praised Mendelsohn, comparing his vision to Pierre L'Enfant's design of Washington, D.C., stating that it foresaw the needs of the future and aimed to create a city that would still be well planned 50 years later. Initially, Mendelsohn's company invested millions of dollars to locate water. Despite the original plan to place the city's core on the eastern side, the aquifer was found beneath the western side. As a result, the company focused on developing this western area, which later became the main residential area of California City. They constructed roads and established water infrastructure for housing. One of its biggest accomplishments was building Central Park in California City. It had a man-made lake and waterfall surrounded by lush green grass in the middle of the desert. Pat Gordon, the first president of East Kern Historical Museum Society, said it was beautiful, like a prestigious gem in the desert and the only one around here. To mark the park's opening, Mendelsohn flew over the lake in a helicopter and dropped 10 gallons of water from Central Park in New York City as a symbolic gesture. Central Park was a demonstration of what California City could achieve, proof that with enough money and effort, the desert could be transformed into a green oasis. On top of that, the town officially became a city in 1965 when it was incorporated, and at that time it had a population of about 600 people. Gordon, who moved to California City in the early 1960s, remembers everyone coming together at the newly built elementary school, which hadn't opened yet, for a big dance. Both Mendelsohn and California's lieutenant governor gave speeches. Gordon described the mood of the time as one filled with high hopes. However, behind the celebrations, the incorporation of California City was also a strategic move, according to Starkey. By incorporating, Mendelsohn's company shifted the financial responsibility for maintaining the city onto the new city government. When California City officially became a city, it was already $7.5 million in debt. Efford Floyd, who started working at the California City Development Company's offices around 1970, had fond memories of the town. It felt like a small town, she said. Her kids enjoyed activities like archery, softball, and swimming in the town pool, and she never worried about safety. While Mendelsohn's company aimed to build California City as a proper city, it was also a business venture. Their approach involved buying cheap land, developing it with parks and infrastructure, and then selling lots and homes to potential residents. A newspaper advertisement from 1958 declared land rush seen as first lot sales start to pour in. Another advertisement in the Los Angeles Times proclaimed California City has a bright future ahead. It encouraged people to buy lots in the city, promising potential profit. However, the anticipated rush to buy land never happened. Gordon explained, "We always thought that the next wave of growth was coming, but it never did. It's just been like that." She likened the fluctuations in population to a wave coming in and out of the ocean. Creating a city costs a lot, especially in the desert. Mendelsohn often went to New York to find investors to keep the project going. He found a big investor in William Billy White Jr., the president of Great Western United. White bought most of Mendelsohn's company and merged it with his new company, Great Western Cities. Mendelsohn thought that it would be a great chance to invest in the city, Gordon said, but White fired Mendelsohn as president as soon as he could, so he could run things his way. Even though Mendelsohn still owned part of the company, he was worried. He spoke to Great Western shareholders at a meeting, saying, "White controls everything, even though he shouldn't. He gave me responsibility without the tools to do the job," he added. "I'm really worried about our future earnings." Mendelsohn had good reason to be worried. By the early 1970s, the company was in trouble. Great Western Cities was losing money fast. Some people who had bought land sued the company, saying they were tricked into thinking it was worth more than it was. In 1972, White quit his job as director of Great Western. Today, even though it never became a big city in the desert, California City has more people living there than ever before. Houses are cheap. Some folks come to retire, while others work at nearby places like Edwards Air Force Base, mines in Mojave, and the Mojave Air and Spaceport. Some move closer to family in the California City Correctional Facility, even though the prison is supposed to be closed soon. One reason the city didn't grow much might be because it never had its own strong economy. For a long time, this place was mainly where people lived but didn't work, explained Jim Creighton, a member of California City's City Council. People often question why big stores like Walmart, Albertsons, or Stater Bros aren't present here. It's because the town doesn't have enough residents to support them. In around 2010, a Rite Aid store opened, followed by McDonald's, Family Dollar, and Dollar General. Since cannabis became legal in California in 2016, the city has embraced the industry as a potential economic boost. However, the city's limited water and power systems have hindered efforts to develop it further. The original planners focused mainly on housing and recreational facilities, neglecting plans for industrial development. They had ideas for a golf course and park, but little consideration was given to businesses. 6 decades later, California City's cherished oasis in the desert remains. On a recent Wednesday afternoon, Central Park was mostly quiet, with only a young woman relaxing under a tree and another resident strolling along its paths. The usually fierce wind was surprisingly calm. While the man-made lake still exists, its once clear blue waters have turned murky green with algae. The grass is sparse and dry, and some boards on the wooden footbridge are out of place. The water has ceased flowing for quite some time. Old brochures and ads for California City often showcased sailboats gliding on the lake. However, according to Gordon, sailboats never thrived in California City due to the strong desert winds. She explained that any sailboat photos were taken early in the morning before winds picked up and made sailing difficult. So what are your thoughts? Do let me know in the comments, like the video and subscribe to the channel.